Wrestling and cinema. One, an oversubscribed pillar of Western culture where over-the-top, muscle-bound caricatures of real life scheme against one another in a never-ending battle for prestige and supremacy. And the other, also a platform of entertainment where this exact joke format has been done to death. Sorry, I'll do better in future. Anyway, being so similar in concept and execution, there's always a delight to be had whenever someone crosses the streams. On the one hand, you get Arnold Schwarzenegger appearing on SmackDown and socking Triple H in the mouth, and on the other, you get Hulk Hogan scrunching up his face and saying, "Dookie." And speaking of Dookie, what's coming down the pipe for us here doesn't usually smell too inviting. You get the odd hits, of course, like The Rock and Batista, both of whom feature here, but you also get the B-movie cameos, low-budget disasters, and literally anything attached to WWE studios. Either way, forewarned is forearmed, so let's crack on. My name is Adam Cleary, and these are 10 upcoming movies starring wrestlers. Number 10, Kilroy Was Here, Chris Jericho. Something of a passion project from a one Mr. Kevin Smith, this. A man you might remember as the genius behind Mallrats and Jay and Silent Bob, but who I will always remember for dunking on some Twitter doyle who tried to grass me up to him. Did you know, Kevin Smith, this bedwetter cried, that Adam Cleary from What Culture says you haven't made a good movie in years? Yes, said Kevin Smith, he's right, and haha, in your face, nerd. Anyway, way back in April 2014, Smith announced that he was working on a Christmas-themed horror movie, Anti-Claus, and that it would have a script based on the Christmas special of his now legendary Edumacation podcast. Filming began later that year with Tusk actors Justin Long, Michael Parks, and Haley Joel Osment. Yes, him from The Sixth Sense. The story, as best we can figure, focuses on the slightly twisted European folklore interpretation of Santa called Krampus, an evil devil-esque creature who sneaks around in the night, punishing and, I think, eating children who are on his naughty list. In 2017, it was announced that this had all been reworked into Kilroy Was Here, and that Chris Jericho had joined the cast as the Gator Chaser, whatever that means. Expected release, unconfirmed, but winter 2019. Number 9, Trouble, Seth Rollins. Right, okay, I just want to make sure I've got this one absolutely right. There's an animated kids movie about dogs that stars the voice talents of Snoop Dogg, because he's a dog, and Cesar Millan, because he has a show about dogs, and Harland Williams from Puppy Dog Pals, and a former member of The Shield, but it's Seth Rollins, and not Roman the Big Dog Reigns. Putting aside the huge tension headache that decision has given me, Trouble is a tale of a pampered dog who must learn to live in the real world while trying to escape from his former owner's greedy children. Could this be the plot synopsis of a lovable children's adventure? Could this be a pretty apt description of Seth's working relationship with Shane and Stephanie? You tell me. The film is sort of already out now, but unless you're watching this in Thailand, Singapore, Kuwait, or Lebanon, you won't have seen it yet. In fact, if you are, you probably won't have seen it either, but whatever. Expected release, 2019-ish. Number 8, Tales from the Dead Zone, Bret Hart. Okay, so I'm going to read this in that really deep Hollywood trailer voice for you.
A medical examiner conducting autopsies on victims of a horrible car crash imagines how they may have lived their lives. Stories in the anthology include Legend of the People's Demon, Rope-a-Dope, Inside the Room, and LJ's Finest Hour. Coming soon to theaters.
Now, yes, if you have watched the trailer to this film already, you might be thinking, wait, that's not even remotely the same film that's described in the blurb, Cleary. Are you sure it's the right one? And yes, I am, and I don't really understand how either. It all just is. To the film itself, though, and precisely which of these enthralling tales of speculative reanimation Bret Hart stars in remains to be seen. But given that he's been cast as private investigator Tom Jenkins, I'd hazard a guess at literally any of them. Corey Feldman, or Mouth from the Goonies, as he's somehow still better known over 30 years later, is in it too, so hey, there's that. Plus, it looks like it was filmed by 3 students who've just realised their deadline is tomorrow. Expected release? Who knows? Number 7, Action Number 1, Eva Marie. Haha, yes, so long-term fans of either the channel or myself will recall that I literally reported in this same video last year that Eva Marie had used Celebrity Big Brother as a springboard to land a role in the upcoming Action Number 1. Despite some 12 months passing between me doing that video and this, that title is still just about the only thing we know about it. That and the fact the plot centers around a pair of geeks who hatch a plan to try and steal a comic book. Details being so few and far between, there's no real way of knowing whether the movie will be any good or not, but haha, of course, yes there is. It's a TV movie. It'll be full of wooden acting, hokey dialogue, and gratuitous cleavage shots, which is why you'll watch it. Expected release date? Ask her. Number 6, the buddy games, Seamus. It's been a fair old while since we've seen Seamus on our screens. In fact, I'm struggling to remember anything he's done since that disastrous main event finish between Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins on the Raw after WrestleMania. My god, lads, what were they thinking? He's busying himself in the acting world though, and his next gig is The Buddy Games, a Josh Duhamel directed comedy movie in which a group of friends challenge each other to what IMDb refers to as a wild assortment of absurd physical and mental challenges. Sounds awful, but the cast is actually half decent, as long as you define half decent as people you've heard of before. Duhamel himself will star in one of the lead roles opposite Olivia Munn and Dax Shepard. Seamus' character is named Thrusty though, which kind of raises all sorts of alarm bells. You know as well as I do there's going to be a really lame running gag about him being Irish and drinking too much alcohol. Expected release, well, it debuted at the Mammoth Film Festival back in February, but we've had no news since. Number 5, Girl on the Third Floor, CM Punk. This actually looks pretty good. If you, as I am repeatedly encouraged to do by my therapist, forget all about the Flintstones and WWE Stone Age SmackDown, then this is CM Punk's feature film debut. Rabid, which also comes out later this year, will likely get a few more headlines, but technically this shot first, and either way, Punk has the lead in this one. It's a much bigger platform for his alleged acting chops. Don Cock, and that's genuinely his real name, tries to renovate a rundown mansion with a sordid history for his growing family, only to learn that the house has other plans. Judging by the trailer, those other plans aren't a walk-in dresser or some crazy paving either, but rather loads and loads and loads of gory horror set pieces. The production, it is slick, the concept new if not original, and early reports are that Punk is actually pretty strong in the starring role. Whether this leads to other projects or that wrestling return we're all so desperately craving remains to be seen. Expected release October the 25th, 2009. Number 4, Project Extraction, John Cena. Cast your minds back to last year and John Cena's reinvention as the Posy Vibes, #thriving, honestly Nikki, I'm fine, life coach on WWE's YouTube channel. He was in China, remember, which he repeatedly called a fascinating country with such wonderful people. Yes, you're right, it was very weird. Anyway, part of the reason behind this, the other being the breakup, let's not kid ourselves, was a film project he was working on with Jackie Chan. An action flick that sees a Chinese private security contractor and a former US Marine, I'll let you work out who's playing who, called in to save some oil workers from terrorists. So yeah, Cena moved to China, he got to train at Chan's martial arts school, learn a bunch of new disciplines, and at the end of it all, he's got both this movie and that hilarious new finisher to show for it. Hi, and that haircut. Expected release 2020 in China, but no news internationally. Number 3, the main event. Sheamus, The Miz, Kofi Kingston, and Beth Phoenix. Haha, yes, the very first offerings from the haunted, rancid tree that's grown out of the big pot of dirt marked WWE Studios / Netflix. Expect this to be considered one of 2019's biggest sins by the time the big show rolls around. Until then though, the main event is now in post-production and expected to drop next year. We're yet to get a concise report of precisely where the story's going here, but we do know that it's going to center around an 11-year-old aspiring wrestler. He discovers a magical mask and then enters some sort of competition to become the next WWE superstar. I have a few issues with this. First of all, every 11-year-old is an aspiring wrestler whether they like it or not. Secondly, why on earth would WWE be having some sort of competitive preteen sparring contest and also be dangling a carrot of employment in front of an entirely unemployable demographic? Still though, any additional vehicles for The Miz and Kofi Kingston deserve to be taken seriously, as too does anything that takes Beth Phoenix off commentary. Expected release sometime in 2020. Number 2, Jumanji, The Next Level, The Rock. Yes, 100,000 times yes. Virtually no 90s reboots are good, and yet lo and behold, when you stick The Rock in the equation, they suddenly are. Jumanji was critically lauded and a box office smash, and the sequel was inevitable. This time though, there's a tweak behind the characters as the avatars are now representing different people and thus need to be played differently by the cast. Case in point for Jumanji The Next Level, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is playing Dr. Smolder Bravestone. In the first film, he represented the nerdy Spencer Gilpin, played by Alex Wolff. But here, he represents Eddie Gilpin, played by Danny DeVito. Just to clarify here, The Rock is playing his big, strong action hero self, but through the lens of Danny DeVito's shuffling curmudgeon mannerisms. Before you ask, no, they don't give Oscars out in advance, but you are absolutely right, he should be getting one. All the other cast return like Kevin Hart, Jack Black, and Karen Gillan's stomach, and it's going to be with us before the end of the year. Hooray for movies and hooray for The Rock. Expected release this Christmas! Number 1, June, Batista. Yes, they're remaking June, and yes, of course, they found a role for my close in real life personal friend Batista. After he's already found a home in the MCU, James Bond, Blade Runner, and his own slew of trashy/awesome action genre fare, he's standing now as one of Hollywood's most dependable character actors. If the title means nothing to you, June was the sci-fi epic that should have become an absolute beacon of the genre, but was just... oh, Christ, how do I explain this? Some parts were way ahead of their time, others way behind it, and all of them were the wrong way round. Imagine if Blade Runner had gone for 50s noir dialogue and space-age visuals instead of the other way round. So everything's all bright and shiny like an iPhone while Decker runs around calling women dames. Yeah, wouldn't work, would it? And that was kind of June's problem. The remake, though, which has Denis Villeneuve at the helm and stars, brace yourself, Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Stellan Skarsgård, Zendaya, David Duchovny, Jason Momoa, Javier Bardem, and Dave Batista. 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered with water, the other third is covered by this movie's IMDb cast page. Expected release, December 2020. So there you have it, those are 10 upcoming movies starring wrestlers. Read to you by a man who is still available for casting opportunities, and my DMs are open since you asked. Let us know what you made of it all in the comments below, and of course don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I have, of course, been Adam Cleary. I am really Dave Batista's friend, and I'll see you soon. Bye.